paranormal news. There's a lot going on out there, a lot of UFO sightings we're going to cover. We're actually going to start somewhere else. Rasco's been investigating some paranormal news, and what's first on the docket?
We have some very, very interesting news, breaking news almost.
Oh, shit.
Apparently, UFO hunters are preparing to unveil a series of photographs depicting an alien who crashed to Earth during the famous Roswell incident.
What?
There's a Dr. Edgar Mitchell. He was the sixth person to land on the moon, and a team of extraterrestrial investigators, along with this doctor, will appear at the 10,000-seater National Auditorium in Mexico City tomorrow to reveal the Roswell slides.
What? So it's going down in Mexico? What an odd city.
Yeah, Mexico City. So I guess what happened is these slides were taken by Bernard A. Ray. He was an oil exploration geologist working in the desert in Roswell during the year in 1947 when this mysterious aircraft, or UFO, fell to Earth.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So he's saying, a lot of people are saying and have said over the years that this thing is a hoax. Like, they just made this picture of an alien, because there is an infamous picture of what appears to be an alien, and some people have said, well, that's the Roswell alien. It was a corpse of a dead one, and it came from that ship. The people who are calling it a hoax are saying that this was actually a ship designed by the government, and that it's not actually any outside UFO coming from space. It was just a military craft.
As I had mentioned a couple times already on Paranormal News here on the Trippy Show, I've visited Roswell. They have a really, it's a very trippy museum, the UFO Museum, and the community there is completely behind this whole belief in UFOs and aliens. But as you said, the actual vehicle it was driving in, it seemed to be described as fairly small to me. That throws me off. It seems like more of a personal vehicle than some sort of, thing that would be capable of traveling light years across the universe. They seem to believe it's real, but if you listen and look at a lot of the stuff in that museum, they tell tales of all kinds of different aliens. They have invisible aliens, reptilians, amphibian ones, green ones, gray ones. It's really crazy stuff. But as far as what it looks like, Maddie, it looks a little bit like things we've heard about and read about in the past, the Nephilim. Do you see any resemblance between that one picture and the Nephilim, or is that just a coincidence?
Yeah, I definitely see some resemblance with the elongated head. There is a UFO investigator who has been working to establish the authenticity of these images, you guys. He's saying that, quote, this humanoid is not a deformed person, mummy, dummy, simian, or dead serviceman. It is not a creature that finds its origin on Earth. So this guy is a legitimate UFO investigator. He's been studying a few of these new images that are going to be shown tomorrow, and he's saying that this thing is legit.
Wow. Well, it's funny you mention that because NASA now is pretty much coming out and saying they believe that there is some type of extraterrestrial life out there, and they've actually now teamed up with the Nexus for Exoplanet System Science, or NEXT, and they're teaming up with them to actually hunt down and try to find aliens.
Wow.
Try to find exoplanet life. It said since 2008 that they have the Kepler Space Telescope has been able to pretty much locate more than 1,800 exoplanets. So that with that technology and this Nexus for Exoplanet System Science, they were going to feed the data to them, and they're going to break it down, and they're going to say if there is in fact life that could be growing on that planet.
Oh, okay, crazy.
That's trippy.
Or that there's a planet there that has, pretty much what we know of a actual, an atmosphere that could have life on it.
Okay, so basically they're going to do educated guesses, try to figure out the places that very well could have alien life.
Or is this like the new Men in Black division?
Very interesting. Now, I wanted to share a story with you guys because, Raspo, we saw you could call it a UFO just simply because it was unidentified, but a UFO sighting where you had about 3 or 4 lights. They were orange lights in a row. I was reading the latest MUFON reports, and somebody in Mississippi witnessed the exact same thing. They reported witnessing low-flying orange lights. Their quote was, "A car was ahead of me about 8 car lengths," the witness stated. "I followed along and noticed in my rearview mirror what appeared to be the reflection of a row of orange lights. I thought it might be the top of a large truck. The row moved across my windshield, and I thought it was a reflection, but there was something about it that caused me to take my eyes off the road and look up." Now, the one thing I was thinking about as I'm looking at the pictures, it's very similar to what we saw. There's also a zoo in that hometown that we were driving through, Tampa, a zoo called Laurie Park Zoo, where they have a festival where they're letting go of these Chinese lanterns.
Yeah.
Do you think, I'm not saying that those lights we saw came from the zoo, but do you think those lights we saw were Chinese lanterns? I know you've let them off yourself.
There's a good possibility of these lanterns. I personally am against these lanterns because, one, stop trying to trick people into thinking that this is a UFO, and two, eventually these damn lanterns are going to fall down somewhere, and it's just like, it's littering and pollution. Now, I remember a few weeks ago, I texted you, and I said, "Yo, guys, look outside. I see a UFO." Like, I see like 3 or 4 of them, because UFOs have been known to go in formation where there's a lot of them all at once. Those are the real trippy ones. And in this case, I kind of kept looking, and then I realized that they were actually those damn Chinese lanterns. So, this is a public service announcement, a trippy public service announcement. Stop with the flying lanterns. We're looking for UFOs here. We're trying to do that.
Now, K-Mac, you had a story you were looking at. Perhaps this is definitely not a Chinese lantern. Maybe this is actually a spacecraft much like the one Raspo was talking about that crash-landed in Roswell. What the hell are you looking at?
Well, there was a picture that was posted up, I think, on Twitter today of somebody quoting, stating that they're driving down the road and there is one of those wide load tractor trailers driving down the interstate.
Oversized load.
Oversized load, exactly. Even over probably the limit. It's kind of looks like it's going to fall over. But
yeah. Are they going to drop that load somewhere?
Yeah, I don't know, but probably heading down to Area 51, I'm guessing. But
yes,
being escorted by cops, and on the back of this thing, it looks like there's like a kind of like a, I don't know, like a,
it's a saucer,
some type of tarp laying over the top of it,
over a saucer,
and it's completely covered, and it looks like it is an exact same shape as a flying saucer or just some really odd-shaped rock.
Mike, I know you've seen a ton of these pictures. I remember when we were younger, watching videos on Live Leak and the early stages of YouTube, trying to figure out if this stuff is real or not. You could see the picture. What is your take on this one?
Well, I mean, it definitely could have been photoshopped. It's a little odd how it's on the back of the truck there.
It does have these
got a little stand
kind
there.
of beam things
Yeah,
coming
but
out, though.
why would you place that big of
How else are they going to carry
a
it?
saucer diagonal
It's true.
on that? You would think it would be horizontal.
He makes a good point. You'd think you would put
to
it...
make sure it doesn't fall down.
I'm sure the sides
Put
are
it
pretty
flat
fragile. I don't know if they can put all that weight on actually completely stand it up and, straight up and down.
And it looks like it would fall on its left side if it did. You would think it's top heavy possibly.
It does have a police escort, apparently, Raspo. So basically, to let the audience know what we're looking at, it's a semi-truck. The UFO, it's a straight-up saucer like the one you see in old-school Disney movies and whatnot, but it's on its side completely. There is a support beam, but it's hanging over the left lane. Now, that said, it has the ability to do that in this case because it has a police escort. What do you think, Maddie?
Well, personally, when I'm looking at this photo, it definitely looks like the wheels, they're not... It looks like the wheels are about to fall off of the back of the truck there. So, I mean, it doesn't look like they're clearly on the road. There's something wrong with this picture, I'm telling you guys.
So you think
And
it's
why-
photoshopped?
I think if you look on the picture there, the bottom of the UFO where it's going across the actual truck itself, It does kind of look a little rigid right there. It kind of looks kind of weird. It doesn't look the same as
Photoshop action.
the
Why
rest
wouldn't
of
you
it.
put it on a military vehicle if it was like that important? You wouldn't put
Maybe
this
it was,
thing on.
I mean, no, maybe they had to get it out quick. That's all they had. Maybe it was a small town, so like, shit, load it up on here and let's go.
Yeah, it looks like, this is on, let's call Bergie Bobby's truck and bring him down here.
I mean, they move houses on these trucks right
They do.
there, so it's not
But
like
this is a UFO, man. This
No,
is
but
way
that
more
shit ain't
important.
weighing more than a house.
And I will say that I've seen some stories like this where you have multiple witnesses, and that lets you know this is real. You have multiple normal people saying they saw it. So we'll have to look into this and see if we have some more, of course, witnesses to come out and say they saw this one.
Yeah.
Now, a UFO sighting happened back in November here in our home state of Florida. This was a silent triangle UFO. It was muffled completely. The witness said it was so large that when I stopped my car to look, it was all I could see out of my windshield and windows. It didn't make any sound at all, and the trees didn't sway or make any noise like they would if something like a helicopter or other craft flew so close to them. I have a good friend of mine who actually said he saw a UFO just like this, and it flew off completely silent very quickly. Raspo, have you heard of any reports of giant UFOs being completely quiet? Because unlike something the military can design, that's one thing that could let us know this is the work of aliens and not our government.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, these UFOs that don't make any noise, those ones are the most suspicious ones because they would have the technology to get here. They would have the technology to kind of stay stealthy in a manner where nobody could detect it. And those would be the ones to, I guess, worry about or think, hey, this isn't government related, because as far as I know, besides like even like the stealth bomber, like it's gonna make a noise. Like
Well,
it's
Let me take this one to the next level with you. Do you think, as far as the UFO being completely silent is concerned, do you think that would be more of an example of it being able to just be quiet at will and travel long distances, or is it possibly entering a different realm or traveling through a parallel dimension?
Well, like we mentioned a story maybe last week where NASA was developing some sort of time warp machine. And the whole idea behind this time warp machine is that they weren't going to use the general standard jet propulsion or anything like that. They were going to open up a bubble in time and kind of just go to a different dimension or go to a different area through that time warp. So what I'm thinking is that if you have something like silent like this, it could just appear out of nowhere, and then it wouldn't affect any trees, it wouldn't affect any, there wouldn't be any noise or wind or anything. It could just kind of appear.
Even if it's gigantic in this case?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter what size it is. If, for instance, there's a UFO, let's say there's a mini UFO in this room right now waiting to pop through a time bubble, and all it needs to do is kind of make that bubble appear. And that can be done at command if you're developing something like this.
Oh, damn. That's some crazy shit. Mike, any thoughts on completely invisible UFOs? Are they just so futuristic that they're on a different level? Or possibly, like Raspo's saying, maybe there's a theory that they're in a different dimension or transporting through one?
Well, that's definitely an interesting theory. I mean, I think it's very possible that, they have cloaking devices if, they have this type of technology. I mean, a cloaking device would be very low technology to them. So I would assume.
Interesting take. I mean, we've always kind of associated cloaking devices with UFOs, and you say it's pretty much common sense that they would be using cloaking at this point.
Absolutely. I mean, with a UFO, I think you'd want to stay unidentified.
Interesting.
That's sort of the point of it.
Now, the last UFO sighting I want to touch on here happened very close to Coachella, so perhaps these people visited Coachella or were taking some of the stuff that those guys were on, and they noticed, they said at approximately 82 degrees north, I saw movement of a yellow-white object with movement in a southward direction. This was a hovering sphere UFO that they reported changing sizes. They said it stopped and blossomed by 50% or greater with color changes to greenish yellow for about 1 to 2 seconds. And the object then diminished to its original size in the stationary location. So it stayed stationary, changed forms and colors.
Where were these guys?
Very close to Coachella.
Oh boy, so we know what they were doing. This explains everything.
Possibly. This sounds pretty crazy.
Or magic mushrooms.
They didn't have selfie sticks, I can tell you that.
Raspo, very close to Coachella, seeing very psychedelic things in the sky. Do you think maybe this was a drone or some sort of kite from the local festival, or is this a legit UFO sighting as they reported it to MUFON?
Well, I've seen festivals bringing back up the Chinese lanterns. I've been to festivals where at the end of the night, a lot of people release a ton of these Chinese lanterns into the air. With this one, though, it doesn't really sound like that. It sounds like more legitimate to me. This one, I think, could be real. I believe that if you're looking at lights in the sky and they're kind of staying stationary for the most part, then, you know, they're probably observing people. Just because a witness is at maybe a music festival or camping, that doesn't necessarily mean he's on some sort of drug. And even if he is on a drug, it still is real, in my opinion. I'm going with this one is legit. This UFO is real.
Okay, that has me worried because that makes me think that perhaps the aliens are hypnotizing us. But once you think about it, I think we already know that's in play.